ring is glowing in elegant blue and green. She patiently waits for your questions and commands. Alexa and other voice assistants change the way we interact with devices and the internet at all. For example, instead of typing, I dictate short messages on the smartphone. Thank you, Siri. That's quite helpful. When cooking, I set a timer by voice command. Or I ask Alexa for the weather report, current news, or to play my favorite song. And she knows when my next tram leaves. So, if our digital everyday life is slowly changing, then of course there are some thoughts about this. I'm not talking about considerations critical of society or technology at the moment, but about the people who think about new services and functions. For example, communication and marketing experts from companies are trying to improve your experience with the help of voice assistants. A few things are already visible. One idea is to use Alexa not only as a DJ, secretary or newsreader, but also as a salesperson. In the sky of the marketing people, there's a new touch point of the customer journey. Sounds like bullshit bingo, right? Well, call it voice commerce. Alexa, please order cat food. It can be so simple and so convenient if you know what you want and if Alexa knows what your cat likes. But there's something that worries communication professionals. We use the web more often to search for something at all. In 3 years, every second search is supposed to be started by voice. What does that mean? Can you imagine having 1 or 2 pages of search results read aloud? No, of course not. Maybe just 1 or 2 single results? In the world of the spoken internet, only very few answers can be heard for each question. We do not yet know where this will lead. Perhaps we're happy with this, because it makes the world so much easier. A recipe against information overload? Perhaps this is a disaster, because the world is becoming much too simple. And because many offers and information won't be visible, or you can't hear them. What else can change? When we no longer write but speak to look for something, the question of pronunciation arises. Does Alexa understand every term? Do you say it the way she learned it? Maybe a brand name has to disappear because it's not recognized by the voice assistant. At least experts are sure branding is getting much more important in the world of voice. But let's talk about services. It becomes quite practical when we talk about skills of voice assistants. Skills are similar to apps on the smartphone, just that they listen to your voice. A lot of companies are currently trying to learn which skills would be useful for their companies. Let's see. A health insurance company reminds me to go to bed in time. Well, actually I'm hungry. A supermarket chain serves me a recipe. And oh, I get sore muscles just thinking about all those workout skills. And of course, a lot of manufacturers make their existing devices voice capital. The heating, the television, but also the car. I still love the pizza service, which listens to my word. My only problem is I have to know exactly the name of his pizzas so that I can order them. Not only the pizza service faces a challenge, most existing websites need to be adapted for spoken language. So what do we learn? The internet is listening more and more to your voice, and you notice less and less that you use it. You search with your voice, you ask for current information and entertainment, you shop. There's one important learning in digital business and innovation. Not necessarily the big suppliers profit from it, but in any case, the fast ones. The race is on. And I really hope there are enough people having an eye on it.
Thanks very much, Thomas Pleil, professor at our university, professor of marketing and Online public relations, sorry. And I'm very happy that he placed this erratic block here. We had 3 erratic blocks by our colleagues, and as we said, we established them in order to establish a discourse also from outside the soundscape studies and acoustic ecologies discourse. And thank you for enriching our discourse by your contribution and for coming even on Sunday. Pleasure. Thank you. So, now we are really in our final stages, and I'm happy to see that there's still a critical mass of people here in order to participate in our last discussion, which is an open discussion. And therefore, I'm especially grateful because you might have wanted to disappear because you think maybe nothing comes out of it. We hope that something will come out of it, and that we will have some ideas and guidance into the future. And let me remind you what we want to talk about. We would like to talk about, well, let me see, sustaining acoustic ecology and soundscape studies, planning the future. And during the last days, somebody spoke to me and said, is it that bad with acoustic ecology that we have to make such a session, a planning session here? I said, no, I don't think at all that it's that bad. No, I think it's quite good. But what we want to make is we want to make those 2 disciplines or those 2 paths of thinking, conceptualizing, living, creating, we want to make them sustainable. And to make things sustainable, this needs to be taken care of. So it doesn't come automatically. So this is why we're sitting here, in order to try to take care of what will go on in the future. Not because we are scared of that nothing will happen, but we want to take care of it. We want to try to, to look into the future, to listen into the future and find out what could be the pathways for an ongoing acoustic ecology and soundscape studies. And now I give my word to Claude, and he has disappeared. Where is he? He's trying to connect because we want, here he comes. Yeah. Okay. All right. I give the microphone to you.
No, I'm trying to connect up with a colleague in Canada, Darren Copeland. Some of you might know him. I think he might be on the line here. Are you there, Darren? Okay, I tried. So this last session, yeah, I'll figure it out later. We try to connect up. We also tried to connect up with Leah Barclay in Australia, but it's just a bit too late for her there. So she's the vice chair of WFAE. So what we'll try to do today is a little bit follow up what we did yesterday, which is talk about not just the WFAE, though that's a really good tool, but where the milieu is going, what kind of ideas you have. The process that we're about to explain with the sheets, I think, will be very helpful. And also just for you to speak about ideas you have and what you are willing to do, or who you think you can nominate people, I guess, if you want. There he is again.
So should we distribute the...
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Because, hi, Darren.
Hello.
All right, so you're going to listen in?
Hi, sorry about that.
No problem. I think we're good now. All right, thanks. Okay. Yep. So the idea with these pieces of paper is sometimes there isn't time. There's about 40 of you here. And sometimes you're more articulate just writing things out. So suggestions, ideas, things that you're willing to do, write them out and or speak them. And then we'll put them on the board here, and there will be a map of some of the suggestions. And so it can be, for instance, yesterday people were talking about gaps in conferences. That's something to think about. It could be future gatherings of the community at a regional, national, international level. It can be a range of things. So we'd like to kind of keep it open like that and see where it goes. If we get into very detailed conversations like we've had in the panels, I might just curb that a bit because there's so many ideas that we want to map out and not necessarily explore. That's difficult to do, but I think that will be useful to try to map out as many ideas as possible. Are people comfortable with that? Does that make sense as a process? We'll try to stop at 4, and it's already 3 now, so we have an hour. Did you want to say anything, Eric, to launch us off?
I'm not sure how helpful it is, but I feel like in my particular position with the World Forum for Acoustic Ecology, I'm maybe an open vessel. Just want to receive what you have to give in terms of ideas or some gaps that need to be filled in, and maybe the World Forum can help in that way. But also remember, again, the World Forum is a group that's connected together. It's not a centralized organization, although I'm just one person. But we all belong in our own particular regions, and local activities, I think, are where the action is, where the soundscape that you experience is and your colleagues there. And so it's just to say, this is a really wonderful time to find out how our mission is serving you, and how the mission may need to be adjusted and tweaked to work better.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Do you have anything to add, Sabina, before we open the floor?
I think we should open the floor. Let's open it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we give you a little bit of time, 10 minutes or so to...
Okay.
Is that okay for
That's
you?
fine, yeah.
And you just write, here's a little bit more, if you need more material, it's there, yeah? And then we want to place it there, we'll collect it, want to place it, and then see, we'll collect it, want to place it, and we will see what comes up. We're curious.
Okay, well, maybe what will happen in the end is that as you write your idea, you can present it and go put it on the board, and that way it's both written and oral. So let's take 10 minutes and think, listen, and write.
Well, can I say something? Just to
Process?
use this 10 minutes, perhaps I already wrote some stuff that I've been thinking since last night. I'm not sure if...
Well, I think we'll let the group... we'll let the group, maybe we don't need 10 minutes, but let's say 5, just to gather some thoughts, start jotting them down, and then you can go first when it comes to presentation. So what we could do is, as ideas get onto the board, if there's an idea that's already been said, you don't need to repeat it, obviously, but you could enrich it. You could choose to do it that way. You could put it right beside it, and we can even have a bit of a mapping exercise as ideas. For instance, there might be ideas about forums, communications. There might be thematic areas that come across. Who knows? So I think we can just start. I know Amanda offered to begin. I will repeat the rules of engagement, or the proposed rules of engagement from yesterday, where people who tend to speak a lot can maybe just back off a little bit, and those who are shy to step up a little bit, so that we at least hear from everybody once, or at least that you feel that your idea has been transmitted to the assembly. And then to try to keep it relatively short, because we are a relatively large group, so I'd say 3 minutes maximum. If you go on too long, I will just kind of encourage you to be concise. Okay, is that all right? Ça marche? And then repeat your name, because believe it or not, we've been here for 4 days and we still don't know each other's, so it's not a bad idea just to repeat maybe your name, where you're from, something like that. Okay.
My name is Amanda. I'm from Mexico, and so I'm been thinking about that and synthesizing everything. So one of the first things that I noticed in this participating with the Midwest Society of Acoustic Ecology, and as well as only 2 different conferences or 3 different conferences related to the topic, is that internet can be great, but the presentation or the presential meeting that we have is crucial. So the question is how these presential meetings can be more inclusive. And inclusion, I don't think, is a very different from diverse. I think we are diverse, but I don't think we have reached the inclusion yet. So I think the bigger filter in here is income. So yes, we have different genders, we have different cultures, we have different ethnicities, but still we don't have different incomes. Artists, lecturers, researchers that cannot come here, and their voice are essential in this in these places. So, so the question is, and I don't have an answer, how we can make that sustainable. And in that is also volunteering. So if we are volunteering, and I'm also not institutionally pamper or allow or whatever, then maybe my volunteer work can allow me to have certain kind of sliding scale or, waiver, because that's time, that's labor. And labor, intellectual labor, should be accountable in this. I mean, we're artists, and also our labor is never accountable. So we have to start from inside the institution to understand that if we are putting a lot of our work, maybe we can find another solution within inside to say, okay, a little bit, no? And then look up inside the institution. So I wrote that up and I'm going to put it on the board here. Oh, yeah, sure. So this institution is amazing, right? We are here. I'm so interested to know the people who are working here, who are studying here. So if the students are only volunteering, I want to know them. I want to know their work, especially if they're international students. So we cannot have a lot of international presence from Latin America. There is, at least in this room, other Latin American voices that perhaps are not presenting a paper, but they are doing their media research as students. So it will be amazing if we can integrate those voices during the meeting that we have in alternative workshops or plenaries or so and so. So I'm volunteering for that in this part, because I still have some time in here, and I would love to listen the voices of international students who are working with new media and sound. Other interesting thing is, like, I know that this conference, and also this is not for the conference, I think it's for own individual research, is that in academic research, is like academia in arts should be a little bit more flexible. I think it's getting there, but not quite. So there is some presentations on papers that not necessarily have to be academically speaking in the format that we understand. And I'm not talking about 20 minutes, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about how we deliver questions, how we deliver our papers, where sometimes it can be an essay, sometimes it can be a performative essay, sometimes it can be another formats that, another narratives, strategies, and ways to deliver acknowledge that not necessarily have to be Q&A or not necessarily have to be with notes or writing formats. And that's my case. So yesterday I was kind of in a very ambiguous case that I was like, I'm not there, but, right? So maybe really addressing and structurally and contextualizing those academic researches or research that are integrating sound in a practical level where you might really need to break out that format. And I think that's it.
Okay.
So.
May I just repeat? We had been very open to all formats, but we were not getting very many. But for example, if you look at Tilgner, who is a practitioner, so it's not that we did preform that. We didn't absolutely do that. We were really open to any submission. Yeah. So I really I really want to say that, because it looks a little bit like we had said only papers. That's not true. Yeah.
No, but in my case, there was a conflict of the schedule, and I was scheduled to do twice, like the same thing.
But this can happen. I'm very, very sorry, I really, oh my goodness, yeah.
Decision, because it's like, why deliver a research paper or deliver a performance paper, or I do both?
That was a mistake. I'm so sorry for this.
I'm going to call that one presentation formats. So it's something to think about. The art, the language of art is, of course, very powerful, and I think we have had a lot of artworks and installations that were speaking to us like a paper was, and there's always need for more dialogue. There's only 5 minutes of questions, but then everybody has to have a chance. So I think it's an ongoing experiment in any given conference. I think you've done really well. The call for proposals was quite open, and then those who were able to come presented, but so many didn't. And that I've been trying to tweet out, and we should do everything we can to share at least contacts. This would be really interesting for you to know you're working in this field, it's easy to do. Just send them a web link or something like that. It's almost a responsibility of ours to share the privilege of having been here. Even if we're paying for it ourselves, it's still a privilege. Okay, next. And then
Just to add to what you said, also not kind of a critique, but more as a reminder. I wrote down keep supporting collaborations between a variety of disciplines. Not that this isn't the case yet, because for example, I am an example for a variety of different disciplines. I'm not that much into soundscapes, for example. I'm more of a kind of a musician in kind of more pop cultural studies and so on. But keep open for this kind of collaborations, and not just on an academic level, but also artists and musicians and so on, because these are also very important voices, and use, for example, networks like Female Pressure to give out calls and so on. It's just as a reminder. So I pin my thing right under this.
no, I was him first, and then I'll do it. Okay.
Thank you. Just saying that I agree 100%. I'm sorry. I'm Alexandre Fenerich from Brazil. I agree completely with you. And I will add, I felt a need for more free time. I mean, for sound rehearsals together, maybe. More space for workshops, maybe. I don't know, maybe we have to change a little bit this academic format and exchange more in another level. I mean, in another language, another layer of language, maybe musically, soundly, and creatively. What is it? Thank you.
No, wait, hang on, just before you speak. Just to keep in mind that you're free to say whatever you want, but I don't think it's useful to only critique this particular event, because we're looking forward to other ways to evolve the milieu. And if you have a point about how any given conference can be improved, that's great, but this is not the time for a detailed critique of this event, if you don't mind.
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm not talking about this one.
No, it's fine. No. Your point's well taken. Did you want to? Okay, we'll have her and then we'll have you after. No, it's somebody right behind you, who's an international student too, who you were talking about just a minute ago. But she's next, and then we'll go to you.
Yes, I'm Juliana from Brazil, and I agree with you, Amanda. As a Brazilian habitant, this event is very robust and have a high professional level. But there are some people important to us to be listened, like victims of noise pollution. So I wrote, maybe consider some space at the event call. And I told, when you said it was only about this event, but this could be a general idea. Open space at the event calls for invite victims of noise pollution, providing an inviting atmosphere at the call and make understandable for those people to come and share experiences. And as a Brazilian, of course, we have a very diverse and different sound environment, because this campus is unbelievably quiet.
No.
Wow.
Tomorrow it will be complete.
At first day I got lost because I thought that all of you were gone, because I couldn't hear anything. You are so very, very silent, and I appreciate that. But I invite you to consider Global South countries for next meetings, like Brazil, South Africa, Mexico as well, because we have great demands. We have diverse environmental sound contexts, and I believe that for you as of the North Global will be a huge and enriching experience.
Did you want to put that on the? Yeah. And maybe if you can put just a theme, like access or something like that, it might be easy. If you want to put a theme to it, like if there's a theme, then we can start organizing.
Hi, everybody, again. I'm Valentina Peterman. I'm a student of the IMC, and I'm from Chile. And, well, I just wanted to point out, maybe on the topic on how to further this community and acoustic ecology research, soundscape studies. I think it's very important, in a first point, continuity. So I don't know if I mean, for example, for us, new people coming into this community, continuity is very important so that people, new researchers and new artists don't get lost in time. These meetings where you can meet everybody, it's very, very important. So continuity on this, it's a point. And also I would like to point out a category that we had in our conference, but we talked about this and nobody reacted to it. It was our next generation category for being able to point out those people who believe that there are new generations and also the next generation, that it's going to further this community. So I don't know if my idea it's clear. Maybe Professor Pratsameta can develop it further. But I would like to make a call to you all for next time, identify yourself as next generation, because it's also important to open special spaces for those who are going to take care of this in the future. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
And if you want to write it down, you can put it on the board. Yeah. Who was next? In my order. Were you there? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'm Ricardo Huisman from Holland. I put on the class. There will be some overlapping, but I like to say it in my own words. Also, when we think about the future, I think it's worthwhile to stay in the moment. So, listening and hearing in a multisensory way, to be in the moment in an inclusive way. Being up to date for contemporary themes like gender, migration, local and global. Being open for critics and building feedback. Don't let the feedback become too loud. It can harm your ideas and your connectivity. Be open for the new without forgetting your heritage. Be open for new ideas for the future. Last but not least, being open for the experiment and the playfulness. And they were said already in some ways, but practical. Also creating funding-like solutions or things that can be helpful for this, like, for example, personal invitations or just giving small amounts of money, because that is what the subsidy organizations are asking for. So it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but they just want to know, oh, this guy, they want him. So, for example, of course, with all limits of the organization. And yeah, I'm very thankful for the great ambience this conference, and I think we did it all together. So,
good. Put that on the wall. Kathy. Okay, so we're going to go there and there.
Kathy Kennedy from Canada. You can call me Kathy Canada for short. I wanted to say that I came to this conference because when I read the call, it seemed so open and inclusive and so stressing on the next generation that I quickly commended Eric on the attempt to cover all of these bases. I think it was amazing, and it has been an amazing experience, and I'm grateful to you all. When I think of what the societies that I am a member of and what I need from them, I need information and I do rely on WFAE, and just the conversation that Anne Ward was having with Eric just now about industrial research being informed by ecological bodies. Does that make any sense, what I'm saying there? Yeah. Environmental information that as an individual artist is useful to me, and also information about other people like myself. It feeds my practice, and it gives me a sense of community. So those things are really important to me. I rely on you guys. Thanks.
Did you write that down? Yeah. Good. Here. No, it was here.
Thank you. Yes, so I want to make a point. I'm sorry. My name is Natascha Rehberg. I'm here from Hochschule Darmstadt, and I'm a member of the Soundscape and Environmental Media Lab, which Sabine Breitsermeter is running here at the Media Campus. So I want to point out something that is maybe clear to everybody, but still maybe I missed it at some points. So I tried to figure it out like that. Although listening is, of course, or is a strong tool for empowerment, not all acoustic problems can be solved through listening only. The structural problems such as global and huge mismanagement of resources that's taking place right now, and also frightening political changes that are going on, and that can be actually identified by the tools of acoustic ecology, by listening. We can identify them, but we also have to speak them out. This is what came into my mind after the discussions, and also inspired by Maria Klatter's keynote. I mean, only saying, yeah, we listen to airplanes and then they become beautiful at one point. This is the case if once an hour an airplane is coming by. And then I don't even care if the airplane is very close, very huge and very loud, because actually those are impressive and sometimes even very beautiful sounds. But having an airplane all these 2 minutes shows me that there is a disbalance going on, and we have to say this, and we have to say this is only good for the company that's driving the airport. This is good for the companies who want to trade global things, but they are not caring about us, they are not caring about the environment. And this is not only about listening. For me, acoustic ecology has this political implication in it. And I think we sometimes should, or no, I'm convinced we sometimes should speak this more loud and more explicit, because it's not only about listening. Listening is of course, yeah, I think I said it already, don't want to repeat myself. So I want to suggest, let's speak out loud our findings that we do via listening. Yes.
You wrote that down? Yeah. Will you get in line?
Hey, I'm Maximilian Blass from Cologne, and I'm still really happy to be here because I come from a different area, and I came to this campus just by doing research. So my point is that I think it's a really interesting thing what I experienced here, and I thought about that it's important to open up as well because for me it was hard to find this if you're not coming from an academic area. It's a field which is not that easy to grab or to find at the moment. So I thought about opening up to especially like the youth, and like Natascha is saying, for example, in my area, there's the situation with the Hambacher Forst at the moment, and you can see that there's so many young people gathering, and they have all I sense a need for self-exploration and self-awareness at the moment because of the whole struggling and the whole digitalism, which is giving us so many impressions that there's a desire for awareness and listening again, which was all the weekend going on here. So I think there's a big chance to transfer it, and a good time as well to open up those thoughts that are here outside. And one thing about it is maybe just by making it more present to find, more easy to find in the internet for first instance, something like this. Yeah.
I'll just intervene quickly and encourage you. We're halfway through our time now. It's 3:30. If there are practical things that you think of, because some of these issues are very broad and complex and important to air out, but if it can be small things or larger things that you think we can do, then please say them as well. Okay, I think we're here.
Hi. Okay. Ready now? Okay. Hi, I'm Suzanne. I'm here from University of California, San Diego. And I'm coming at this question from someone who also runs an organization that is under-resourced and trying to discover sustainable ways to continue our work. And one of the ways that we have done this, and at the moment there's there were 2 of us for about 7 years, and now we have another 2, and our presence is actually quite magnified. We seem much bigger than we are. And one of the reasons is because we have found collaborating organizations that help to lift us up. They help to broadcast us. We also are able to take advantage of each other's resources and combine those resources in an environment that is incredibly difficult to access resources. So I guess my suggestion is that whether it be by chapter or by individual, but to find local institutions and or organizations that you can collaborate with in order to combine resources as an outreach effort or to run educational forums or workshops, whatever the case may be. But that has been something that we have found to be incredibly successful.
Thank you. Sure. Do you want to write that down?
Sure.
All right. Who's next? Yeah, okay. Do you want to comment after that? Is that not you lifting your hand? No. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Cornelia Friederike Müller from Leipzig, artist. So something was already said, but I wrote it down in a short sentence. Making the content available to the public and promoting acoustic ecology create awareness. And then I asked myself, how would I do it by myself? So I wrote down doing sound walks. And that is one thing I remember yesterday, also many voices about being isolated. So that's a very practical way to change that for me. So I invite people to maybe now, I haven't done it before, only with friends on a hiking, listen to that. So yes, but now, and of course, then like promoting, making maybe the website, have a little whatever sticker or button, and take it with me. So maybe it could be a solution.
It's very on the ground. Hang on. Did you want to speak to that? I think it's very. I said on the ground, indirect. So in media and it engages other people, and so it's very, you would say, actionable, easy to implement. Because I'm thinking about like some of these ideas are very big, and it's just like how do you form a partnership with another organization, which I think is important to do, but it's a drawn out process. But having a sound walk is very immediate and on the ground. So,
who's next in order? Okay, Hildy. I'll just throw one in if I can, because I'll put myself in line. I was thinking about communication because yesterday somebody was saying we should use technologies more, Facebook or Google and whatever. And I think people should communicate as much as they can and much as they want in whatever language they want, and let others know. And that's the challenge, is okay, I can't be part of this forum, but I can on this one. So I was talking to Eric and saying maybe the WFAE website could at least let people know the different channels that are going around the world, be it from affiliate members or others. There are simple, often the problem is access in terms of knowing that it exists. And then you can go to it and participate, and there might be other challenges, but at least having a map and having a central source of all the different conversations going on. Imagine all the conversations that could go on in acoustic ecology in the world. There could be very many specialties and so on, but somehow, maybe through the journal, maybe through the newsletter, bringing it together and then sometimes doing synthesis. So communication, 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 but smart and simple communication, because you trip off. Like, you're all excited at a conference. I've been around long enough. After you leave, it's hard to do things. So it's actually take a breath and think, what can we do in the next year, next 5 years, the next 2 generations? And I agree with you. Generationally, we have to think long term. When will there be another gathering? Well, 5 years is tomorrow in terms of organizing something, right? So we have to think that way. Sorry.
Thank you. I have 3 quick points here. I think we would do well to try to identify areas where help is needed now for the running of the WFAE. I suspect most of it ends up in Eric's hands. So when we speak of doing this and that on the website, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be Eric. I've been in that spot. That process of identification, what is actually needed, and in that also the same category as you going back to your own places, and we were talking about isolation. Can you think about starting a chapter where you are? And then you would be in touch with Eric. Sorry. So that's just around the WFAE. Another one is ways of identifying areas of study. And so, for instance, I would say areas of study, areas of activism, and areas of education. And I completely agree with Natasha that the listening is the base from which we speak, and the listening allows us to identify what we want to research, what each one of us wants to research, be activist about, and do community work, and also to educate. And if you can identify through listening your own passions and your own, where you feel the strength to continue, I think that's really important. The last point is, I really feel we need to consider new structures for our meetings. I feel we need to be ecologically minded about how we meet. Conferences are fine and good, and I love these meetings. I love these gatherings. However, I can't help but think about us traveling for 4 days from one continent to another on many airplanes, and there's something ecologically completely askew about that for me. And there's so many conferences in the world, and we're not going to change the world by changing this, but I think we should become mindful about that and not contribute more to the ecological disaster than we have to. So that brings me back to the local energy. Where can we identify activism and education and things? And then how can we connect internationally through the media, sometimes with large gatherings, but maybe not every year. That's it.
Who was next? I think it was... Who? Okay, Alexandra and then you. Okay. Yeah, who's next? Just so I have a speak. Anne, I'm sorry, I forgot you. My apologies.
No problem.
You have 2 mics. Where's the other one?
I
think it's back there.
But we're okay with one.
Okay.
I'll move it around.
I'm Ann Ward. I'm from Ithaca, New York in the U.S., and I'm a independent composer and researcher right now, but I spent 10 years working at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology and Bioacoustics, so it's very nice to be able to combine my sort of scientific interests and my artistic interests, and
in this kind of a forum. So I actually have some practical ideas that I came up with, and they're all along the lines of what we've just been saying, but there might be just a little bit added. So in terms of what Hildegard just mentioned, the idea of operating locally, I wonder if I can imagine myself going back to Ithaca, and some of the people I know, there's quite an active music community and people are very open. So why don't maybe I could organize some kind of low budget sort of meeting. I mean, nothing fancy, but just get people together to talk about some of the kinds of ideas we've been talking about, and then consider, just sort of in a volunteer way, some kind of activities we might want to do. And then, as a second practical idea, and I would volunteer actually to help with this, so it wouldn't be just for Eric. There are ways to create multiple forums. So I think, Claude, your idea of bringing together resources in one place is very useful, but it might also be useful to create a set of different forums, which maybe individuals would just create out of interest, that would address different topics. And then you could subscribe to these forums, all of them, one of them, none of them, however, and some of them may not be open to everyone, they may need a membership, or all that could be decided. But in any event, have some place to share both events that go on and have discussions and so on, but not on something like Facebook, because I think that sort of distracts the conversation. So if these were targeted forums, other groups do these kind of things, so it would take some work to just find that. But as I said, I would volunteer to help with that. I think, and then I just one other suggestion that when we were talking about the formats, multiple formats, I've been in multiple situations where people have suggested that we present in different ways, and I have two things to say about that. One of them, I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to do this rather elaborate kind of presentation, and I was really following the call by creating this rather creative thing, but it was just too much for the people organizing to actually implement that, and so it created kind of confusion. So I think that it might be useful to, if there is an interest in making more formats, then perhaps there could be people who contribute examples of these different kinds of formats that, they think, because usually these are rather, it's like, you can do anything you want. Well, okay, well, that might really not be appropriate. But if there were multiple different examples of things that might be done, then people could kind of get the idea and then actually contribute. They don't have to do exactly one of those things, but that might begin to give an idea of what the possibilities might be. But I think it's very important to keep in mind that that can add a lot to the conference organization process, and you don't want to, sometimes it's simpler otherwise.
If you've written that down, please put it on the board. We're going to run out of magnet, but that's okay. Just put them somewhere. Oh, there's more. There's tape. Okay, who wants to speak next? There's 15 minutes left.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexander. I was a student here at the Media Campus. Now start as a lecturer here. And some of you already mentioned the word. I would like to go more specific into this. To sustain acoustic ecology and soundscape studies, I think it's very important, especially to start to search for methods how to enhance awareness, for example, in schools. So as acoustic ecology started as, or a big thing was that this started as a educational approach. I think that nowadays in schools, especially in Germany, I guess, there's no one who is able to facilitate those ideas that we are here talking about. And me as an artist, it's very difficult for me to do some projects in school without having someone kind of behind me, and to also to communicate with those educational institutions. Schools, they are interested to do something new, to do something interesting, but this doesn't have the future of sustainability, right? So as I said, the kids, for example, they love to do those things, and it's also a question how to, as I said, involve artists, but also how to use media technology, for example, smartphones, right? To show the kids that working creatively, it's accessible. Like this is to make aware of this accessibility for creative work. So if you have any kind of experience with that, and you worked in schools and facilitates those ideas of acoustic ecology, so I would be happy to talk with you about this, or we can share the ideas. So in the proceedings you find my email address, so just drop me a line. Thank you.
Okay, we're arriving near the end. Has Sabine want to speak? I'd like to hear from those who haven't spoken. I know some of you have written things out and haven't had a chance to express it, so just let me know when you want to speak. Did you want to speak?
Maybe first the others. I don't want to, you know.
Does anybody else want to? Yeah.
Hi, I am Penny from University of Athens. I was thinking about something that it may seem out of context now, but maybe I just mention it and it rings a bell to someone. Coming from the computer science field, I saw that there was no overlapping, at least these days, between big data and sound ecology. And this is like a hot potato these days. We could find, loads of collaborations for sonifications and stuff like this. So this is just a thought, maybe out of context, just this. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you. I'm Ioanna Mektsoglu. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organization because it did fund my presence here and the workshop. So it was very important for me. And for this reason, I would also encourage the World Forum, maybe if there is the possibility to consider scholarships even for younger, maybe one scholarship for every conference, which we have mentioned in the previously. Maybe see if we can establish it. It will be very useful. And in terms of the outreach that we have been concerned about, I do think the Soundworks would be a great tool to reach people. And especially I would think of maybe targeting campuses and students in the beginning of the year that they are feeling alone and they don't have groups to belong to and they have the interest to. Maybe it's a good thing if we develop, I don't know, centrally or locally, maybe a leaflet with a very basic information of what it is acoustic ecology and some of our the resources, some addresses that they can find us, so we can get and the schools, as what you said about the schools. I think there's a very good blog that Gary was doing. You remember the blogs with the videos? I don't remember. Explorations. Yes, I would like to. To point to that, there's great material to start from. Very interesting videos, and of course we can. Now that some of us know better what the specialty of the others is, maybe we can continue the communication if there is need. Thank you.
Thanks, Claude. I'll be really fast. I just once again want to reiterate my to volunteer to help form a Mid-Atlantic States WFAE chapter. I agree with Hildegard about the different arenas of study. I had written that down. Performing arts would be a category with soundscape. Something in a real practical sense, if there's a way, I don't know who's running the WFAE website, but if there's a way to put a widget together that we can all put on our personal websites that will link, once you put it on your website, it'll link back to WFAE. That's a really easy way to get the word out. You know what I mean by that? A widget? So in other words, like when you go to somebody's website and you say, like mine, and it'll say, you can buy this album on CD Baby. So that's a widget. So when somebody clicks on that, it goes back to CD Baby, and hopefully you all buy my album. A little self-promotion there. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. But if you told everybody that, yeah, exactly. I don't know how to do that stuff, so. No, I have one more thing.
Just to add for the website, Leo Barclay, Tyler Kinnear, and I are the web team for the WFAE, so I'll talk to them about it.
Do it, because Leah's busy. And then one other thing that I thought would be really cool, and I don't know how we make this happen, but it'd be really nice if we had buttons that say, listen. It's very easy to make, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, you will come back. I'll come back.
Okay. I want to put in my 5 cents into the discussion. Rather than to say let's not make so many conferences, I would say let's balance the need for meeting each other with ecological thinking. So I think it's always about balance and not about prohibition. That's number one. Then I would also like to inspire or to, to stimulate that maybe chapters are one thing to do, but the other thing is I would rather like to connect with people who are active in the same field as I, and to work on an international level on same ideas. For example, I'm interested in embedding soundscape studies and acoustic ecology in a broader field of media ecologies and also philosophical ecology. That would be my really big interest. And of course, this cannot be done in a chapter, but this would really need an international collaboration. And I would also say some technical things would be better in an international collaboration than just breaking them down into local or regional chapters. Then I was very inspired today by Claire Lenoble's paper. I was really very inspired because she was giving directions what the role of art in acoustic ecology could be. And I'm just trying to find what I wrote here. I just have produced a mess here. Yes. So that would be a wish of mine, find out more actively of the roles art and design are having within acoustic ecology and soundscape studies, frame and convey it more clearly and precisely in order to make sure that that there is artistic research going on, that art connected to a soundscape and acoustic ecology is a kind of artistic research which opens up a field of speculation and finding out things. And it was really inspiring. So I thank you very much, Claire, for putting that in. And I think this has to happen also in a more systematic way than just making art. Making art is fantastic, and I'm absolutely encouraging it. But also also how to frame that, how to make that in context, put that in context with acoustic ecology would be a really big wish of mine, and also something I would like to work on, and whoever is willing to do so. So I'm absolutely available for connection. And yeah, I think, yeah, that's it for the moment. Thank you.
Sorry, guys, just to speak again, just is a statement in this encouraging smaller groups to meeting together. We are talking about that with the Brazilian crew, and thinking about that, I just realized that actually we need help on this moment. Politically, ecologically, we are in severe damage. So we can't do that alone. We really need your help. I don't know how, just throwing the ball to the group, because you know, we work too much with having no time to make connection. That's the truth. And we are in damage. We are in severe damage right now in Brazil. Since many years, and now we are in severe crisis.
You mean an overall situation, an overall societal crisis you are speaking about?
Yeah, the overall society crisis, and ecologically and socially. We are in almost collapsing right now. So I have no practical ideas, I'm just throwing away the ball. Okay.
Just to clarify, the acoustic ecology studies that I perform had a political background because it need to be. Of course, I want to live in an ideal world where everything is in its proper place. But our reality is not that, and we can't close our eyes to this kind of stuff and close our ears. So that is because my work and Alexander's works has this political huge background, because we need it in order to survive, in order to keep going. Amanda understands me, I'm sure. And that's it. That's it. Thank you.
So it's almost 4 o'clock. I'm going to prioritize those who haven't spoken yet. I'm looking at some of the young people. Claire, Jen, is there anything you want to say? You'll just... Yeah.
Many of my ideas were echoed already. I just wanted to say, I think in terms of concrete ideas, maybe just perhaps providing a list of point persons in each geographic area that we could continue the meetings with. And then I also had some of the similar concerns about compensation for people who are, contributing works in within the conference context. But yeah, mostly just local meetings.
We're good for now? Yes?
I'm Robin, also from this campus. And when I spoke to a lot of persons here, I'm always like, okay, I have some capacities to be a kind of volunteers and volunteer, and what's needed is a kind of a guideline, or to throw out some tasks to get a starting point. So not to swimming in the big ocean of acoustic ecology, and just to help a little bit to orientate. And then when we have this orientation, I would say we young people, then we can take the work and bring it further or to a next level. But I think there's still a little bit of guide needed at this moment.
Well, when we created the World Forum in Banff 25 years ago, what we did is we had volunteer steering committees. We had groups. Of course, we were starting from scratch, and we already have an organization. But in a way, what we're doing is building the next generation of acoustic ecologists. So one of the challenges is a volunteer to coordinate the volunteers, but then that person has to know what's going on, and everybody has to make a living. So it's difficult, and I don't know that there's any magic solutions. I will turn to Eric if he wants to comment. But my experience has been that when you've met someone and you've developed a relationship of trust with them, and you say you're going to do something, then you just find a way to do it. You call them up. You next time they're in your city, but you keep others in the loop, and you say, well, I can't go forward without consulting others, but I did say at that meeting that I would do it. Therefore, it can happen because you sort of have the consent of the group. Anything that's been said today, I think people should have the license to move forward, to at least explore. You know, if you want to do sound walks in your region, great, because if 100 sound walks take place, you know, next week, next month, next year, that will have impact. One of the things that you could do is do a debrief when you get back to your country, to your home, to your region, and say, like you talked about, Anne, you know, it doesn't have to be a chapter. Just call a meeting and say, anybody who's interested, I'm going to tell you what I heard and what I saw, and by the way, there's going to be videos available and this and that. So just do practical ways to follow up. And then when another event comes up, whomever has the courage to do it again, then you could have skills now, Robin. You could share those skills and say, you know, when I did the programming, this is what I learned, or this is a template. Whatever tools and technologies we can use to make things easier for future organizers, think through the points of access, think through globally, which is a massive challenge. There are many countries in the world that are on the verge of collapse. Not just the ones mentioned. We're in a real crisis, and yet we're here, and we're talking to each other, and we have skills, and there is the ability to coordinate and move ahead. I want to say one other thing just about recognition. I was very touched about the prize, or the life recognition given to Walter this morning. That's something that could be done both at the senior level and at the more junior level to recognize young people who are moving into the system. There's nothing like a world organization. I know it's a lot of work. I don't want to put it on your shoulders. But there's nothing like a world organization saying, hey, good work. Hey, you're onto something. Finding simple, effective ways to do that. It's 4 o'clock. We don't have to leave right now. I will give you them. Well, then go ahead.
Just in that line of encouragement, I just wanted to say, don't forget how proud you can be each of what you have presented here, because that's the basis now from which you're going home. And don't forget that, because that basis is from which you can continue in your local areas. And I just want to say it's been remarkable what you've done, and just carry that with you. Thank you. That's where the energy comes from that you feel connected with, and you just take that with you.
You want to speak? Do you still, you think you're good? Okay, Eric, do you have any parting words, a little bit on the practical side with follow-ups, and maybe also, I'd be curious to know what the plan is with documentation, just so that people have a general idea. That's a good question. Do we have a volunteer to transcribe this, or is it something that can be taken care of, or should we ask for somebody to transcribe the notes?
To collect it in one document?
Yeah, is there a volunteer? You'll do that? That's very kind. We'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you a beer. So before you leave, put your notes on the board, because some of you didn't feel the need to say them, but do put them on so that we have a good cross-section of ideas. I think we know what the big themes are: access, communication, fragility, isolation. Those are things that come up again and again. We will keep them in mind, and we will meet again. Eric.
So do feel free to contact me, and as we've already said, we have our Facebook page for the World Forum. We have our website. The website might be the key, to get to the other things. And other things that are coming up, if you don't subscribe to the email newsletter, we just sent one out. We'd like to get another one out to report about this conference. So what I'm hearing now, I'd like to have included in that conference report, but I don't want to be the one that actually writes it, because I have limited time. And so I might I'd like to know if anybody else would like to offer some thoughts, some observations post-conference to share on the news blog for the World Forum. And Leah and I will work together to coordinate that maybe in a week's time. So it needs a quick turnaround and get some information out. Thank you. And some other things for WFAE members, we're rebuilding the library. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I just want to reiterate that. So we're rebuilding the online library. The old one was a great resource, so we're with that content and new content submitted by World Forum members, we can start doing that. So there'll be an online form, again, for members to add things. So if you're not a member, that might be an incentive to. Also, there's going to be another conference in Budapest in end of November for the Central European Society for Acoustic Ecology, which is looking forward to becoming a new affiliate organization in that region, including, it's open to everyone, of course, but they're thinking about an affiliate organization for Hungary, Poland, Slovenia, Czechia, and the countries in that region. So that's something coming up real soon.
Good, thank you. Let's start thanks by thanking Eric and Leah, who isn't here, and anyone else who's active on the WFAE. Thank you very much.
Just a little story about how the honorary membership for Walter happened. Hildy suggested the idea, and I agreed with her during the dinner last night. And I said, but I need to get the world, our affiliate representatives to approve this, because I can't just go ahead and do it by myself. So there's a process. So I emailed our affiliate reps to ask if they approved it, and they all responded from Japan, from the UK, from the United States, from Finland and Australia and all that. And by early this morning, everyone approved it. And I was like, thank you so much. And so I was really proud of them that they responded so promptly, and that we could just do that this morning. So that's all.
All the more thanks.
Yeah, I really appreciate it when people step to it.
It was great. Le mot de la fin will be to Sabine, who, of course, we thank very, very much. We will hear your closing thoughts, and then we'll wrap this up.
Yes, my closing thoughts are, let's think of acoustic ecology and soundscape studies being a coalition, because I read this word on this board, which I saw today of the Banff conference. A coalition means people from very different backgrounds can find together without them being mainstreamed in some direction. Yeah, but it's really an open thing, and they can belong to other affiliations as well, to other belief systems, to other disciplines, to other cultures, to other I don't know what, artist movements, whatever. Yeah. So for me, it's a coalition, and we should really live this coalition. Coalition means we collaborate in order to become stronger with the ideas we're having. So that means working together, knowing each other, talking to each other, sending each other an email. Do you think also, couldn't we, oh, I'm coming to your city, are you there? So please feel free to contact me when you're in Berlin or when you're here around in the Rhine-Main area, because we can certainly set something up, or somebody might want to see our studios and learn more about our 3D audio and soundscape and environmental media lab or something like that. I just name that as an example. So anything is, of course, possible, and any discussion can be set up and things like that. So it's a coalition, and in this sense, I want to end our very, very fruitful days. It was a pleasure to meet you all and to get your energy and also your thoughts and your artistic works and your papers and everything. There is one thing: we will publish the films we took during our sessions, but this will take a little bit of time because it's a huge amount of material, and our students have already started editing and everything, but we also have to take care, of course, of the quality, and this needs to be checked, and it couldn't be done all on the spot, and tomorrow our semester is already starting, and then it will be very busy for the students, so give us a little bit of time. We estimate it to be ready maybe by the end of October, latest mid-November. So I will let you know via, acoustic ecology listserv and things like that. And I think we can also send out an email via our mailing list we have. And then everybody who has participated is involved, of course. And you're free to spread the word. Then we have practical questions I have also to address, very profane questions. One question is, bring back your bottles, please, because it's bottles we have to pay money for, and so if a bottle is missing, it's deducted from our tiny little budget. So be so kind and bring the bottles back to our room. And then there is a less profane thing. Everybody who has participated here, given a paper or has done something, artistic work, there are certificates for your participation. Please pick them up at the reception. Oh, you have them here. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. So you're here to distribute them, and so pick them up and go home with them, show them to your, I don't know, institution. I was there, and so on. So you can prove your presence.
If need be.
Yeah, and in any case, stay connected. I think this is really the last call or the last word I want to have. Stay connected. Let's stay connected with each other. Thanks again for your participation.
Let's thank everybody. Bon retour. I hope you have a safe trip home, and thank you very much for being here. I think we've thanked our hosts many times, but sincerely, what it is an act of generosity to put time aside, years of work to prepare and to be so thoughtful in the call and in the presentation and the respect of people and of the work. So that's something that I think we all appreciate a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did that numerous times. I appreciate it.
It's worth repeating.
But we're happy about that.
No, it's worth repeating.
Yes.